whole Congress. If it's the Federal Reserve that has the responsibility of dealing with the value of our currency and can create the business cycle, not only here but worldwide, because we're the worldwide reserve currency. So that's pretty important. I said, just think about the monetary unit of the dollar. It's worldwide use, all of the currency related to it, and every single financial transaction is related to the dollar. 50% of the transaction is related. So everything everybody does, everything they earn, spend their money, and indirectly the world currencies is related to that. And I saw some people, just sort of, wow, maybe that is. But I don't know what will happen, but I do know that I'm very determined to do my very best to do the job that should have been done a long time ago. So as soon as we were sworn in, I sent my staff over to get a day for a hearing. When's our first hearing? What are we going to do? And they said, relax a bit. We have to get organized. And that was a legitimate argument. And matter of fact, even today, we do not have the names of the Democrats that will be on that committee. But it is a small committee. There are 8 Republicans and 6 Republicans. Excuse me. It's the other way around. I think the Republicans they're in charge now. The 8 Republicans and 6 Democrats. And, but it's going to be a different kind of committee. It's not going to be a committee to demagogue. Has nothing to do with political partisanship. It has to do with, challenging Keynes. That is it. We're going to challenge Keynes and his monetary system. One of the pieces of legislation that's been floating around by others who are anxious to, take advantage of the interest in the Federal Reserve. There are a lot of people interested in the Federal Reserve now. But they have made a proposal that we remove the mandate of the Federal Reserve to provide full employment. They have 2 mandates, stable prices and full employment. Well, they claim there are stable prices and they're doing an excellent job on inflation. Even though commodity prices last year went up 24%, they think inflation has been licked, But the commodity price is, of course, going up, and the unemployment rate, now they've been very successful on unemployment rate. They say, well, they're relatively successful. They only have 9% unemployment, 9.5% unemployed. But even the Bureau of Labor Statistics will admit that it's actually 17 when you talk about the people who are just barely employed that might be working on weekends. When you count them, it's 17%. And then if you look to John Williams from a private number, he comes up with between 22 and 23% unemployment when you count everybody who's given up on looking for work. I mean, it's like the depression on how many people are unemployed. And that's why no matter how much they pump up the statistics and the euphoria, and no matter how much money the banks make and by getting more money from the Fed and returning it to the Treasury and all that gimmickry, and Wall Street is enjoying it and they're making money once again, there's still a lot of people suffering out there. And the one characteristic about destruction of a currency is you can't destroy a currency without destroying the middle class, and tragically that's what we're involved in. That is why sound money should be the issue, because if we care about the welfare of our people, the poor people, and the middle class, you have to have sound money. You can't do it by printing money, spending money, and having the Congress do it. So the answer to so many of our problems is to understand the business cycle and why we do need a sound commodity-backed currency. Now, the proposal is to remove the mandate for the Fed to maintain full employment. And And that, I think, is just sort of fluff, but it's a bill. And I could care less about what happens to that particular bill, because what if you do remove the mandate? What difference? How's it going to change monetary policy, since they do what they want anyway? You know, and you can barely get the information out. We've gotten some information out about the funds they spent during the crisis, but we didn't get a true audit. So I'll continue to work on that, to audit the Fed. We're going to insist on that. But at the moment, the tentative plan is, as soon as they give me a date in February sometime, is to have a hearing. And the hearing will have to do with monetary policy and monetary policy as related to employment. This means it introduces the whole notion of the business cycle. And instead of giving the Federal Reserve this mandate to keep unemployment low and getting credit when it is low, what we're going to do is show them how the Fed creates the unemployment. They're the ones who are responsible. So the format of the committees will be different. Too often, they're just show hearings. They go in and they have 2 or 3 big guns, and you go through the whole committee, and you everybody gets to ask their question. Then you go on to the next panel. Sometimes there are 3 panels, and you end up with 8 or 9 people involved, and I never thought they accomplished very much. But my intention is to have smaller hearings. We have the majority, so we're going to gang up on them. We'll probably only have 3 people testifying at a time. We'll have 2 good guys against 1 bad guy. Now, what I'd like to do is get Paul Krugman there on the first go around. Then I'll go and find a few good economists that comes out of the Mises Institute, and we'll put them and stack them against Paul Krugman. But the hearings will be as much to enlighten as to legislate, because the main legislation I'll push is to audit the Fed again. And I am sure they'll give me a little bit of pressure, because there will be some coinage bill that they'll want to pass and find out what percentage of zinc has to be removed, because we can't afford zinc pennies anymore. That sort of thing. But it will be a serious discussion. It'll be small in number, and there's not going to be strict limitation of time where you can barely get your questions in. And if people are interested, they're going to stay, and we're going to debate this out. If we do this right, and we have the right people responding, and I can get the right people to come, with this age of the internet and with the age of communications, I think we can accomplish a whole lot by having these hearings. You know, Walter Jones, I mentioned, a good friend of mine. When he's on the banking committee, and he asked for only one subcommittee, and that was the monetary policy, and he got put on there, and he will be the vice chairman of the committee. And he told me, he says, Ron, I want to get on your committee. He said, because he says, I don't know anything about it, and I want to learn something about it. And he comes to my libertarian luncheon every week, and he knows the speakers that we've had. So he's very interested. But he wrote me a little note the other day. He said, why don't you have a hearing and talk about the relationship of the price of food and the price of oil as related to monetary policy, which is great, because prices don't go up because of monetary policy. Prices go up, according to the establishment, because the farmers aren't doing the right thing, or the Arabs aren't doing the right thing, or something else. You know, I struggled with this whole thing about inflation and definition, and when I was reading Human Action carefully, Mises would keep talking about inflation isn't the prices going up. Inflation is when you increase the money supply, and pushes prices up. And I kept saying, well, it's just semantics. Forget it. Why don't you just call it price inflation and this sort of thing? He said, no, it is very, very deliberate. that everybody thinks about prices going up for something other than monetary policy and separate it because they don't want to attack monetary policy. If oil prices are going up, there's some type of strategic reason, geopolitical reason for oil prices to go up. In the 70s especially, it had